In this example, we're looking at the monthly rent of a 2-bedroom apartment in some luxury apartments for a 9-year period, and we want to find an exponential regression equation to predict what the rent is going to be in 2015. So to do this, we're going to use a table on our Desmos. So go ahead and open up a desmos.com screen, click Start Graphing, and the first thing we're going to do is we're going to enter the table into the Desmos calculator. So to do that, we hit our plus sign, we enter in our table. The first value from our table was 2, then 3, so on and so forth. Over on our Y's, the first value was 2,425, and the second value was 2,500. Notice I didn't use any commas. So go ahead and pause the video and enter in your full table. You'll notice that on the table, I used 2, 3, 4, 5 instead of 2002, 2003, 2004. This is just to make it simpler for myself. So once your table is added, the next thing we need to do is we need to tell the graphing calculator what equation we want to use. But before we do that, let's go ahead and look for our points. So we're going to zoom out since we're in the thousands here. We're going to have to zoom out quite a bit. We know we want to be in that first quadrant, so we can move it over to there if we need to. Oh. And they're all kind of squished together, so I'm going to zoom in where they're all at so I can see them a little bit better. But now, if I notice, they're all kind of lined up in a straight line. And the reason that that's happening is because I have such small numbers on the x-axis and such big numbers on the y-axis. So I'm going to go ahead on this one, and I'm going to change my graphing settings. So I'm going to come over to my x's, and I know I don't want any negative x's, so I'm just going to put a 0. And my biggest x is 10, so I'm going to change that to just 11, just above. And notice I don't even have to do anything with the y's. All I had to change were those x's and spread those out a little bit to be able to see my points. So now I want to see how well these are going to fit into an exponential regression. Now don't use a linear regression. Even though they kind of look like a line, it's more because of how we're zoomed in. So to do a linear regression, we're going to add an equation or an expression. So I'm going to add an item, add an expression. And we need to have this be our exponential equation we've been using. So I'm going to start off with the y, but just like with the linear, we need it to be a y1. So I'm going to use my keyboard, and next to the ABC key, when I push it, there's a little subscript key, this A with the small b here. I'm going to press that, put the 1 in. Now remember, just like with the linear, it's not equal to it, it's an approximation. So we have to use our squiggly, which is shift, and then the key next to the 1, or if we're using our keyboard, on our ABC keys, it's on the very bottom, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 over from the 1, 2, 3, 4 ABC button. So putting that in, then we need an M, but we don't like to use M here. They like to use A on Desmos. So here we're going to use our A instead of our M. 1 plus our rate. Close our parenthesis. We want to the power of x1 minus 1. The 1, so we know it's an x. So I'm going to go back to my main keyboard. I'm going to use my power key, A to the B. And now to put multiple things in the exponent, I'm going to use parentheses. And I need an x minus 1, but remember we want that to be an x1. So over by the x, hit my ABC, use my subscript, put the 1 in. And now it spits out for me the A value and the R value that I want to use to make my equation here. Those are the two parts we're going to use. A being our first monthly payment. So here the first monthly payment was $2,297.78. And the rate, 2 decimal humps, was 5.05%. So let's fill that into our equation to be able to use it. So here, we're going to use y equals, our A was 2,297.78. 1 plus our rate, still as a decimal though, so 0.0505 to the x minus 1 power. And the second part of that question said that we want to use this now to predict our amount in 2015. Couple ways we could do this. We could use our equation and we could plug in the 15 for x and we can solve. Completely fine if you want to do it that way. But we also have this graph over here that we can use. All we have to do is find out where x is equal to 15. So I'm going to come over to my graph, find the 15, but I have to see where it is on the y-axis. And when I hit that graph and I scroll, I can get really close to where it's 15 and see where that value is. And now here I see that when it's 15 years, we're going to be charged $4,581.82 in rent for that year.